Hi guys, we just got done with the walking meditation, including Viloma Pranayama, and we are going to start doing some yoga poses. So the basics to all standing yoga poses is the rooting technique, and I thought this would be a great place to practice it because there's lots of things rooted here. So, let's get started by just bringing up all of our 10 toes, and in our standing poses we like to have our feet just naturally underneath our hips. Good. So with the rooting technique, then try and separate all 10 of your toes, spreading them out, making sure that there's space between each toe. So not to pick on you, but because of modern culture and the shoes that we wear, how they're always so closed-toed shoes and everything like that, we lose a lot of dexterity in our toes. We lose a lot of strength in our toes, and we get this rounded formation that you kind of see here today. So with that being said, the rooting technique becomes very important because not only do we get more dexterity back, but when we lift up our toes and we separate our toes, we are now grounded on the four corners of our feet. So it's right underneath the pinky toe, right underneath the ball of the big toe, and then 2 in the ankle. This gets us nice and rooted and also lifts up our arches, so anyone who is flat-footed can practice standing like this, and it will actually help raise their arches and walk around without orthopedics. Not only that, but when we lift up our toes and we're engaging them and separating the toes, we're activating the whole front body. So it starts engaging the muscles that you typically don't really use, but also when you get to the platform of the hips, because in yoga there's 3 platforms, the feet, the hips, and the shoulders, it makes sure that you're sitting in the right alignment. For those that often stick their booties out and bring their bellies forward, once you raise those toes, it starts to tilt your pelvis back. Or other people who often sit with their backs hunched and their hips forward, once you raise your toes, it engages your back a little bit, so that way you're standing in the proper position. With that being said, it then keeps you nice and sturdy with the proper alignment, just for mountain pose or any standing poses that you'll practice. So with our palms facing forward, our shoulders rolled back, and our heads forward, we're in the anatomical position, but we're also in mountain pose. You'll also hear some yoga teachers call it Tadasana, which is more used in Ashtanga yoga. After practicing the rooting technique of just pulling up our toes and spreading them out, getting that proper alignment, then to complete the rooting technique, we spread out the toes, put the big toe and the pinky toe down. This is really going to help you. Sorry, there's a root underneath my rooting technique. This is really going to help you feel the arch in your foot, and also just feel the 4 pillars, keeping those middle toes up. This is how you get a lot of foot dexterity, a lot of toe dexterity. You can call it the toga of yoga. Then once you feel all of that activation, you feel like your body is in proper alignment, you can relax those 3 middle toes down, and you'll also feel like your knees kind of soften a little bit. That's really important for people who hyperextend, which means that they lock their knees back into place. I'd rather not demonstrate because I don't want to show you what to do to hyperextend to get into a pose. I'd rather you just practice the pose with your body. So today we're going to do Vrikshasana pose, or tree pose, inspired by all of the trees around us. And we will start by getting one foot and having it fly up. Based off of your level of stability, you'll either start by having your foot kind of be a kickstand on your ankle and just moving your knee out more. Vrikshasana pose is a pose where we're not completely open-hipped, but we're not closed-hipped either. So it's kind of a good buffer pose in yoga classes to go from neutral facing hips, which would be forward hips, to open hips, which is having them split open. So you can either use the kickstand, you might be able to bring it up to your calf, or you would want to bring it above your knee joint, bringing it as high into the groin as you can. Well, I'm due to the dress, I'm just going to do it this way. And then there's lots of hand variations that you could do here. The first one would just be getting your foundation, that first platform, your foot in place, getting your hips to be solid, feeling the stability. You could bring your hands to heart center as well. If you need some stretching in your shoulders, you can interlace your hands, have your palms face up towards the sky, reaching up. Once you do this though, you don't want your shoulders to come all the way up, so you want to relax those shoulders down away from your ears. Bring your hands back as much as you can, so that way you can get into your shoulders. You can also bring your hands down. Some people come into cactus because it's difficult for them to raise their hands up all the way, so they can come into cactus. Or they can come into dancing tree. That's bringing your hand that's over the leg to reach down. The other hand follows, arching over and stretching out our oblique muscles, these outside muscles here. We'll come back through center. You could shake it out. Use that rooting technique once again, just getting your foundation nice and solid, allowing yourself to get extra stability for your standing poses. Again, kickstand, calf, or above the knee. Lots of hand variations. Some people like to do steeple as well. And then come up. Just remember always to drop your shoulders away from your ears. I'd like to demonstrate an advanced pose, an advanced vrikshasana that you can do. It's a little bit different. It's a lot of bit different. So to do that, you would bring your foot into your hip flexor and push your knee down towards the ground. The hand that is on the same side as your leg will wrap around your back and get into the foot, the grabbing the toe rather. To get into the pose, you'll probably come into a little bit of a twist, then try to come back to really stretch out that pectoral muscle, and then the opposite hand will come up. I like to teach a lot of binds in my class because binds are often poses that are not taught by many teachers, and it really helps with complete shoulder flexibility. So once you're here, this is a vrikshasana advanced pose you can do. However, this pose then has an extra increasing level of flexibility where you can begin to reach forward, elongating your spine as you come down, not rolling, elongating your spine, keeping your body flat. Let that hand come down to the ground next to your foot. Walk your hand back. Exhale. How I like to get out of this pose is bring both hands to either side, coming down. Then what I might do is just bring my foot, slide it down over to my knee, and then I'll come up into a 4 pose. Sit your hips down, getting a nice glute stretch there. Bring your body up. A lot of people come with their chest all the way down, which is totally fine. You might feel it more in your seat bones, in your glutes and your sciatic nerve, but it's also really nice to, got a little intense. Let me stretch out my other glute. So it's really good to keep your body up Keep your body up as you simmer down. Let your butt drop back so that way you get the sciatic feeling. For those that do bend forward, try bringing your hands down. Hook that foot around the bicep. Sorry, the tricep, the outer muscle. So hook your arm around the tricep. Your other knee comes to your opposite tricep. And then you'll reach forward with your head and bring your foot back. I'll show that from the side, just so that way you can see that transitional pose. Again, so you come from four pose, sit, get into your sciatic nerve, come down, wrap your foot around the tricep, bring your other knee to the other tricep. When you're doing arm stands, you want to think of a pillar, of a triangle, or a pyramid. Your hands are two pillars, and your third eye or your forehead becomes the extra pillar. So you send your head forward. That gives you that pillar to work with, and then you bring your foot out. Hello, friendly caterpillar. I'm here today, I wanted to just kind of teach the difference between forward folds. A lot of teachers, they'll say bring your hands all the way down, reach as far as you can, and a lot of people roll into their shoulders, so they just roll. And then they try to reach their toes by rolling into their shoulders. But when you do that, if you'll see me, I'm putting a lot of pressure into my cervical spine. I'm crunching it all. So, when we come forward, we like our hearts to guide us. Your hands can come down. Come down, come down, come down. Your teacher then might say, come into a flat back. A lot of people don't ever come into a flat back when our teachers teach us this. Come here. You won't find any food over here. Come on. Okay, a lot of teachers will say come into a flat back, but our students are with the rounded shoulders. So, what that means is tell them to bring their shoulders back, bring their head up, bring their shoulders back. So that way they're re-elongating the amount of space in their cervical spine. That can also be done for someone who can touch the ground. They might be rounded here. They're crunching their cervical spine. So tell them to let their head hang, roll those shoulders back. Coming into a flat back, you tell them to just lift their shoulders up, lift their hands up a little bit. Okay. Today we're going to do Garudasana pose, eagle pose. Garuda is the vehicle in which Krishna gets around on. Garuda is a gigantic bird, eagle, really, and I think he's half human. No, he might just be a big bird. Anyway, Garuda is a big bird who ends up being the vehicle of Krishna. Krishna is one of the, is the supreme personality of God. And so, Money, lay down. Okay. Today we're going to do Garudasana pose. Garudasana is eagle pose, but what's really important here is the name Garuda. Garuda is the vehicle of Krishna, and Krishna is the Supreme Personality of God. And so Garuda is this one, he's the killer of the snake demons, he's the protector of the small. So when you're doing this pose, you have to really think about encompassing this sense of protection, this sense of killing snakes, and carrying the personality of God. That's a pretty big thing that's a pretty big feat to be able to carry the personality of God. So, I love caterpillars. Alright, so today we're going to come into Garudasana pose. You will begin by crossing over one leg over the other. For those that lack stability or have really tight hips, you might just pause with your foot in kickstand eagle pose, in which case you will then cross your hands and try to double cross your hands so that you have palms touching palms. Then you would try and sit down in the pose as far as you can. This is a neutral hipped pose, or neutral facing pose. The second way is you might be able to do a double cross. Let me just make sure I'm not killing my caterpillar friend here. Yeah. Okay, so you might be able to do a double cross here, and then you'll do a double cross in your hands. Then with eagle pose, you want to sit in and bring your elbows up. Bringing your elbows up gets it into your trapezius muscles. This pose is really good for people who are runners or athletes, as the double crossing of the pose of the legs helps break the fascia that is built around muscles, which holds them into a tense position. To demonstrate that on the other side. This is also good for people who have chronic tensions in their legs, or muscle sprains, or Charlie horses. Yeah. And then we would do the opposite arm. Elbows go up, bottoms come down, eagle pose.